Hello and welcome to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be discussing what would have happened if Obi-Wan had trained Luke on Tatooine from birth. This always crosses my mind when we see that scene in Revenge of the Sith of Obi-Wan giving baby Luke to Owen and Beru Lars, and today I'll be giving an answer to that question to the best of my imagination. So, without further ado, let's get right into this what if. Obi-Wan stands on the desert planet of Tatooine, with the baby Luke Skywalker in his arms. He stands there perfectly still, staring towards the Lars homestead. He thinks to himself what he's about to do. He's about to hand over the last hope of the Jedi Order to a pair of people who would be against him using the Force. After a few moments of contemplation, Obi-Wan turns and gets back onto his animal and rides back to his hut. There, Obi-Wan fathered and trained Luke in the Force for the next 13 years. Over that time, Luke grew very powerful in the Force. Obi-Wan trained Luke in his main lightsaber form, Sorsu, and his other lightsaber form, Ataru. However, Luke naturally leaned toward his father's lightsaber form of Gemso. Reluctantly, Obi-Wan allowed Luke to study Gemso. Luke combined the three forms he had been taught into a very effective fighting technique. Luke used his father's lightsaber hilt. However, he swapped out the iconic blue crystal for Qui-Gon's green one, which was a gift from Obi-Wan on Luke's 10th birthday. This was special to Luke as the Force ghost of Qui-Gon appeared to him and Obi-Wan from time to time to help Luke train and tell stories from the time of the Republic. Qui-Gon became as much a mentor to Luke as Obi-Wan was. Over time, Luke was slowly told about his heritage. Despite what he was told, Luke still held out hope that one day he'd be able to turn his father back to the light. Luke and Obi-Wan trained every day and would sometimes go out and fight sand people to practice their fighting skills. However, as Luke grew in the Force, he gave off a powerful Force signature, and so did Obi-Wan. Vader and the Emperor sensed this presence, and Vader was sent to go and exterminate this threat. At this point, neither the Emperor or Vader knew this was Luke. However, they both recognized the Force presence of Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. On this day, Luke and Kenobi are in the middle of meditation when they both sense a powerful dark presence. Kenobi instantly recognizes this as Vader. They look into the sky and see a Super Star Destroyer blocking out Tatooine's twin suns. Shock and panic flared inside the pair. Obi-Wan stared into Luke's eyes and told him, "It's time for us to travel to Dagobah, and for you to meet Grandmaster Yoda. Together, we will complete your training." For a fleeting moment, joy raced through Luke, but it was quickly destroyed by his returning panic. The pair gather their belongings, and they race into Mos Eisley to get a ship. As they arrive in Mos Eisley, they hear the screech of a TIE fighter coming into land just outside Mos Eisley. They sprint into the nearest ship bay. The owner of the ship is stood outside the ship, cleaning it. The pair race to him and begin negotiations to borrow his ship. After a bit of Kenobi's trademark Force persuasion, they agree on a price. Luke boards the ship whilst Kenobi sorts out the payments. Suddenly, Obi-Wan hears a deep, raspy, robotic breath. He looks at the entrance to the bay to see the huge statue of Darth Vader. Before Kenobi can do anything, the owner of the ship gets pulled towards Vader and a red blade shoots through him. His dead body falls to the floor, and Vader stands there, blade ignited, staring at Obi-Wan. Kenobi ignites his lightsaber, and the two engage in battle. Their fight is the same as the one in A New Hope, slow and careful, testing the other's power. Luke hears the clash of sabers and races to the exit of the ship. Back outside, Vader slams his saber down, knocking Kenobi's to the side, and smacks him across the face, sending him flying to the ground a few feet away. Just before Vader kills Kenobi, Luke appears at the exit of the ship and screams out, "No!" Vader looks at the boy. Something about him was familiar. Then he noticed the boy's lightsaber. It was Anakin's, a fragment of his own past. Anger swelled inside Vader. He turned to the boy, but before he could do anything, he was sent flying back by a Force push from Obi-Wan. His anger had distracted him and allowed Kenobi to use the Force on him. Kenobi hurried to his feet and leapt on board the ship. They raced to the controls and flew off just before Vader could grab them with the Force. Vader returned to his Super Star Destroyer and reached out to the Emperor. Vader spoke. There was a boy with Kenobi. He was powerful in the Force. Something about him was familiar, like I'd sensed him before. He also wielded the lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker. Interesting. I believe this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. Vader, too stunned to say anything, kneels there silent. The Emperor continues. We must find the boy and turn him to the dark side, or kill him. Yes, my master. Vader ends the hollow message and stares Neil for multiple minutes. His hands squeeze into a fist, and the room he's in begins to shatter. The walls and floor begin to crack. Just before the entire room is destroyed, Vader stands and leaves the room without saying a word. Luke and Obi-Wan exit hyperspace at Dagobah. They cruise down to the planet's surface. They get out into the creature-infested planet and search around until they come across a tiny hut. The pair enter the hut and see a tiny green figure cooking. Master Yoda, it's great to see you again, my friend. Yoda turns to Obi-Wan with a stern face. Told you to give the boy to his aunt and uncle, I did. The boy needed to be trained. He is our last hope. True that may be. Good to see you, it is. The two old friends share a smile. Obi-Wan introduces Luke to Yoda, and they all share Yoda's dinner, which after a few bites, Luke and Obi-Wan pretend to not be hungry. The next day, the pair of Jedi Masters begin their intense training of Luke. This training is nothing like what Luke had been through before. It was 10 times more intense than anything he had done in Tatooine. But it was working. Despite already being very powerful, he was growing in power at a rapid rate. The trio trained like this for the next 4 months. They had even granted Luke the rank of Jedi Knight. The problem was, with Luke growing so powerful in the Force, not even the dark side Nexus could completely conceal their Force signature. Vader and Sidious sensed their presence. Realising that this was the presence of not only Luke and Kenobi, but also Yoda, the Sith pair decided to eradicate this threat together. They both arrived at the Death Star and made the jump to Dagobah. Luke and Kenobi were in the middle of a lightsaber spar, with Yoda studying Luke, when the immense Sith presence hit them. Luke and Obi-Wan instantly retracted their blades, and the trio turned to each other. A huge shadow was cast over them. They looked up to see the Death Star. This dwarfed the Super Star Destroyer that had appeared on Tatooine. Luke gets a Force vision of the planet being destroyed. Yoda, sensing the threat as well, tells the others to get to the ship. They sprint to the location of the ship, but it's half sunk. They had forgotten to check on it since they arrived on the planet. Without any time to lose, Luke stretches out his hand and grabs the ship with the Force. He closes his eyes and focuses completely on the ship. Slowly, the huge ship raises out of the water, covered in algae. The trio jump into the ship and shoot off the planet. Suddenly, a green beam shoots out of the Death Star and completely destroys Dagobah. They stare out of the ship at the destroyed remains of Dagobah. Bad turns to worse as the ship gets caught in the Death Star's tractor beam. Their ship gets dragged into the Death Star. Stormtroopers race into the ship, but before they can do anything, Yoda grabs them with the Force and slams them into the roof, killing them. The trio walk out of the ship and into the Death Star. They fight their way through waves of stormtroopers. Luke and Obi-Wan slash through them, and Yoda throws them around with the Force. Eventually, they arrive at the throne room, where Vader and Sidious are waiting for them, along with 3 royal red guards. Ah, good to see you again, my little green friend. At the sight of Obi-Wan, Vader instantly ignites his saber and starts towards Kenobi. Luke and Obi-Wan ignite their sabers. Let me deal with Vader, Luke. You deal with those red guards. Luke wants to stay, but Obi-Wan shoots him a look, and Luke leaves his side. Yoda joins Luke on their way up to the steps towards Palpatine and the red guards. The 3 red guards leave Palpatine's side and stand in front of Luke. They draw their pikes, ready for battle, and since his numbers disadvantage, Luke enters his Sorcery stance. The red guards strike, and Luke blocks them with ease. Yoda arrives in front of Palpatine. A malicious grin spreads across Palpatine's face as he begins to cackle. A determined scowl forms on Yoda's small green face. Their last encounter races through Yoda's mind as he vows that he won't let the same outcome come this time. Yoda reaches out in the Force and grabs as many nearby objects as he could, and with tremendous force throws them toward Palpatine. Palpatine outstretches both hands and freezes them in place as they fly at him. Yoda, using all his might, manages to send a few objects through Palpatine's freeze, hitting him, but Sidious manages to keep most of the objects frozen. Vader swings with all his might towards Kenobi. He was not going to let Kenobi slip through his fingers another time. Obi-Wan blocks each attack, but is getting pushed back. Vader takes another huge swipe, but Kenobi ducks it and swipes at Vader's revealed back. Obi-Wan's blade slices up Vader's back, and he goes down to one knee, and Kenobi follows up with a slash towards the head. However, before Obi-Wan decapitates Vader, his saber gets frozen. Confusion flashes over Obi-Wan's face as he pushes his blade forward as hard as he can, but goes nowhere. Slowly, Vader gets back to his feet and turns to menacingly tower over Obi-Wan. Kenobi looks down and sees Vader's free hand clenched in a tight fist, and realises Vader had frozen him in place. Kenobi feels Vader release him in the Force, but instantly swings at him. Obi-Wan blocks the swing inches from his face, and he feels the heat of the blades on his face. Vader shoves his blade forward, breaking the lock and sending Obi-Wan staggering backwards. Without pause, Vader marches towards Kenobi, and they begin to clash once more. Luke still blocks all of the attacks coming at him, but he's beginning to fatigue. One of the Red Guards manages to smack Luke behind the knee, dropping him to one leg. Another one smacks him across the stomach, and the final one prepares to strike the finishing blow. Just before they can kill Luke, he outstretches both hands and sends all three guards flying back. Luke gets back to his feet, however this time he enters a Gem-So stance. The guards get back to their feet and cautiously walk towards Luke. Luke races forwards and begins to powerfully swing at the Red Guards, knocking them off balance. After a few strikes, he manages to slash through one of the guards, making it a 2v1. Sidious blasts Force Lightning at Yoda, but like in Revenge of the Sith, Yoda blocks it with 2 to miss. Just like in Revenge of the Sith, this results in a Force shockwave sending both backwards. Sidious gets up first. He remembers that Mas Amedda had burnt Yoda's lightsaber after their last encounter, and that would be how he wins this fight. Sidious flicks his arm, and his lightsaber shoots out of his sleeve. His crimson red blade ignites, lighting his horrifically scarred face. Yoda struggles to his feet and sees Sidious grinning at him. Sidious leaps towards Yoda and slashes his blade towards him. Yoda reaches out his hand and pulls the dead Red Guard's pike towards him. Yoda blocks the slash just before it slashes him in half. Yoda pushes the blade back and flips backwards. Sidious instantly starts swinging at Yoda again, and Yoda blocks and flips over each swipe, delivering his own slashes, which Sidious also blocks with ease. Luke swings at the 2 Red Guards. They barely block each shot and get knocked off balance. As Luke swings at the guards, he hears a horrible sound and shock runs through his body. He turns around and sees Vader with his red blade shoved through Obi-Wan's stomach. However, Kenobi's body disappears. Luke knows he is now with the Force, but that didn't stop the rage burning through his body. Vader may have been his biological father, but after all those years on Tatooine, Obi-Wan had become a father to Luke. Luke lets out a scream of pure anger, and the 2 remaining guards get sent flying back and disintegrate. Even Vader, Sidious, and Yoda get sent flying back. Sidious gets to his feet and begins to cackle. Luke was turning to the dark side, and even if he died, the Sith would live on through Luke. Yoda gets up and sees that Sidious has all his attention on Luke, who is now walking towards Vader with evil intent. Yoda took this opportunity, and he leaps towards Sidious with his pike ready. Sidious heard Yoda's battle cry and turned at the last moment, igniting his lightsaber. Both weapons pierce the other as they fall to the floor. The 2 strongest Force users of their generation, maybe even ever, die together. However, just like Kenobi, Yoda's body disappears into the Force. Luke powers towards Vader, staring directly at him. Vader struggles to his feet and takes deep, robotic breaths. Luke, with his eyes filled with pure rage, slashes with all his might towards Vader, who barely manages to block his swings. Vader begins to take faster, deeper breaths as he really struggles to block his son's increasingly powerful swings. Luke uses the Force to push his fatigued father back onto the floor. Luke walks over to his father, preparing to kill him. However, just before Luke kills Vader, out of a rage and forever turns to the dark, he hears a voice in his head. It was Obi-Wan. He calls out his name and tells Luke not to fall into the trap of the dark side. This snaps Luke back to reality, and he realises what he's about to do. He retracts his lightsaber and takes a step back. Vader gets to one knee, heavily panting. He stares up at his son, defeated. Luke proudly tells him that he'll never turn to the dark side. He is a Jedi, like Obi-Wan and his father. He gives his father a choice. Luke offers his hand to his father and asks him to come with him as a user of the light side. Thoughts race through his mind, memories of his youth, Qui-Gon, his mother, Obi-Wan, and Padme. Then he stares at his son. If his burnt body would have allowed it, tears had been running down his face. He takes Luke's hand as father and son, as Anakin Skywalker. And there we go. That's how I believe the events of the original trilogy would have played out if Obi-Wan trained Luke from birth. There are a few different ways this could have ended. One had Luke turning to the dark side and taking control of the Empire, but I felt this was the best way for it to end. Please leave a like and subscribe, and click the notification bell to know when I next upload. Leave a comment on what you think would have happened if Obi-Wan trained Luke from birth. I'll see you in the next video, and goodbye.